get you up there where the air is rarefied. We'll just glide starry-eyed once I get you up.
That's my guy. That's Frankie. Frankie, baby. He was so fabulous. And a total gentleman. And I've got some funny stories to tell you about that time in Tahoe. The veil was getting into my eyelashes. Oh gosh, the price we pay to look silly. Darling, I am so happy that you're here today, that you're watching this. You know, it was such an incredible time in my life. And I think life goes in stages. Luckily, I've had a lot of stages, and some of them I would prefer not to have had. But you know, they all make us who we are. Everything. I don't regret any of those things. And, you know, it's always the same thing. If we could look back and know what would develop from the bad things, then we could accept them better. But I suppose that's the lesson we have, is to learn how to handle that. And I have. And, you know, every day brings another challenge and another joy. And it's so wonderful of you to want to hear my stories. And Frankie, of course, was such a well-known figure and still is. I'm sure that his estate's still raking in the money from his marvelous talent, and that's quite wonderful. You know, after I kind of left off the story, when I said I was going to have a party and that it was my birthday and that it was not my birthday and I wanted to invite Frank. And so instead I had the man call and say, well, Frank would love to come to your party. And then he went on to say that Frank was out of town for a few days. He was on some kind of tour, but he would call me. And he did. I don't know where he was, but he called me, and he said, you know, Patty, baby, I'm smitten with you, and I would really like to see you more often, and maybe you could fly away with me. He had his own plane, of course, and his own pilot and all that. And he said, I'm going to be back, and I would like to take you to San Francisco with me. And I said, well, I can't do that, Frank. You know, I'm a working girl. He said, well, what do you think this guy from Hoboken is? I'm a working guy. That's how I got the airplane. So I laughed. And I said, well, I'm having a party. He said, I know it's your birthday. I said, no. He said, Patty, it will be your birthday someday, right? I said, well, yeah. So the night of my party, and this is so ludicrous and funny, I invited a group of friends from San Francisco. I wanted to show off. I knew Frank Sinatra. And so I had a number of people come, a lot of people, and I invited all the girls from the store who were working there, and especially, well, Sue Fisher King, whom so many of you know. She was there, and I keep saying, Sue, verify what I'm saying. But she didn't have to do that. You know it's true. I couldn't make this stuff up. But the night of the party, with all the people there, and I had some caterers from Calneva Lodge, just a little cabin I had, and Kaiser, the big dog, I was dog sitting, was out on the screened-in porch, and I had closed the door because he could be nippy with people. And there was a doctor and his wife there. I can't remember their names. I have to look them up. Uh, and she broke out in hives in anticipation of meeting Frank Sinatra. And her husband had to give her a shot of something. Oh, well, it was a scene. But then Frank didn't show up. And we waited, and people were drinking and waiting, and then they began to doubt that I knew Frank. And the girls from the store would say, yes, yes, she does. And I said, yes, I do. And then the phone rang, and it was Frank. And he said, Patty, baby, I am lost in these hills. I can't find your place. And it turns out he had knocked on a door. Can you imagine? Can you imagine someone knocking at your door and you answer it and it's Frank Sinatra? Well, now, of course, that would be a miracle, wouldn't it? But then it was like, oh my God, it's Frank Sinatra. And he asked to borrow the phone, and he was calling me from that phone. So I had someone, one of the bartenders, tell him how to find my place. And he arrived eventually with his lawyer. And he walked in and he had this beautifully wrapped box. And he said, Patty, here's your birthday gift. I said, Frank, it's not my birthday. It's not my birthday. I'm so sorry. I shouldn't have said that. And he said, well, it will be your birthday someday, so enjoy it. You know what it was? It was a beautiful jade necklace. Yes, it was. That someone stole from me later. But you know, I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the fact that he gave it to me. And so then, you know, immediately he wanted to put everyone at ease because, you know, they were like, oh my God, it's Frank, you know, and I'm saying, he's a guy, you know, gee, relax, relax. And Frank walked right to that screened-in porch. Yes, he did. And he started to slide the door open, and I said, Frank, Kaiser is very mean. He'll bite you. And he said, oh, dogs love me. And with that, he opened the screen, put his hand out, and Kaiser went right on his hand. I had said, well, I guess not all dogs love you. And he said, you know, he got away and we looked at his hand and we did whatever. You know, the doctor looked at it, it was okay. And he said, well, maybe it's just Hollywood dogs that love me. So we got a laugh out of that. We got him Jack Daniels with a splash, and he sat in a chair with everyone around him. And he told story after story after story. He was such a storyteller. He was fabulous. And, you know, everyone was agog. But thank God no one asked him for his autograph. That would have been kind of embarrassing, I think. But, you know, he would have done it, I'm sure. We had a really good time. And in San Francisco, believe me, my stock went way up. They wrote about it in the newspaper, you know, in San Francisco. And it was funny. And it was such a good time. And so then Frank said, well, Patty, let's meet in the parking lot, you know, tomorrow night. And I'll take you to dinner. And so I did. And I didn't dress like this, darling. You know, believe me, I was understated and fun, young, pretty, you know, it was great. And I've always been a good listener as well as a storyteller too. So when I got to the parking lot, Frank opened the car door for me. I was driving, it was my first car that I loved. And it was a blue convertible Skylark convertible. Oh God, it was so sweet. I loved that car. So anyway, he helped me out. And then, hon, sweetheart, darling, he took me in his arms and he gave me a kiss for the ages. It was really nice. It was good. And then he said to me, you know, Dean Martin, and Sammy will be here, and the whole Rat Pack, and we're having a show in the showroom of Calneva Lodge. And I would love for you to come, and there's a place for you right up front at a table, and I'll have that reserved for you. And then I'll see you after the show, whenever that was going to be. So I was very excited over it. And I told the girls at the store, Joseph Magnin, oh my goodness, they were as excited as I was. And I've just got to tell you about Laura, the Scottish woman. She was such a hoot. And she was selling furs. She was selling furs to the she called them what? The ladies of the night, who were hanging around the lodge. And this one woman came in, and Laura, she, you know, it was just too much. She called furs pussy. And she would say that she did. Yes, she did. Oh, I'm embarrassed saying that way, but she would say to these girls, well, darling, with her thick Scottish brogue, you need a wee bit of pussy around your neck to make that dress really stand out. And I've got just what you need. And she'd put this fox something or other around them. And this one girl said, oh, I love it, but I don't have the money. And Laura said, well, you know, maybe you can get the money. She said, I will. I'll be back in an hour. We had such a summer at Lake Tahoe with the mobsters and the ladies of the night and Frank and the Rat Pack. It was amazing. And thanks for listening. There'll be more. We're going to get to the end of this little story, long story, probably after this episode. Bye, darling. Fly me to the moon.